Okay, so I believe we're now live. That was a very faint little ting that came on. So welcome. I'm Lisa Barnwell, and I'm London's go-to for at-home luxury pregnancy and early postnatal therapy. And this is Bumps in the Boardroom, a global conversation on the pregnancy advantage for business. And I'm delighted to welcome you to this event. I really see, feel and believe that there's an important shift that's happening all over the world today, which means that women are being much more highly valued in the workplace than ever before. And I think there's a really good reason for that. And I know that smart companies know they need a balance of talented men and women to succeed, and retaining their key women throughout their childbearing years presents real challenges. And there are some great policies and procedures in place, but I don't believe they really get to the true heart of the matter. Because as a society, I don't believe we yet recognise how valuable the pregnancy mind is, or truly understand the issues of pregnancy from a psychological or truly holistic perspective. And it's for this reason that I've set up Bumps in the Boardroom, the Pregnancy Advantage for Business, which is a live online global conference. And I'll be interviewing some leading experts and game changers to hold an open and honest conversation about this important topic. And I wanted to start today just by reading something from Brené Brown. Her book, Daring Greatly, How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms You, is an amazing book for me. It was something I found last year, and I just feel her Daring Greatly Leadership Manifesto is a wonderful way to start today's event. So I'm just going to read that to you now. To the CEOs and teachers, to the principals and the managers, to the politicians, community leaders and decision makers, we want to show up, we want to learn, and we want to inspire. We are hardwired for connection, curiosity and engagement. We crave purpose, and we have a deep desire to create and contribute. We want to take risks, embrace our vulnerabilities and be courageous. When learning and working are dehumanized, when you no longer see us and no longer encourage our daring, or where you only see what we produce or how we perform, we disengage and turn away from the very things that the world needs from us: our talent, our ideas, and our passion. What we ask is that you engage with us, show up beside us, and learn from us. Feedback is a function of respect. When you don't have honest conversations with us about our strengths and our opportunities for growth, we question our contributions and your commitment. Above all, we ask that you show up, let yourself be seen, and be courageous. Dare greatly with us. So I ask you to dare greatly with me, and particularly I ask my lovely speaker today, Kelsey Grant, to join me and be very daring in her conversations. So, welcome, Casey, from Vancouver. I'm going to give you a nice introduction and just run through a little bit about you. You're in Vancouver this morning, so it's a bright and early morning.
It is.
It is. And you've got a BA in sociology, gender and sexuality, and in your own words, you've rocked extensive personal development and coaching training through Landmark Education. You're a current student of A Course in Miracles, an intuitive healer, have trained and completed courses with leaders such as Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, Abraham Hicks and Gabby Bernstein, and Carolyn Miss, who I love, and countless others. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you today to talk to me about radical self-love, and to talk to me about how mums can get involved in it, and the modern new mum's guide to self-love. So welcome, Kelsey.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're looking gorgeous this morning.
Oh, thanks. It's really early.
Yeah, it is really early. So I'm just getting myself together, and it's mid-afternoon here. So tell me a little bit of a story about you, how you came to create Radical Self-Love, where the name came from, and just the kind of purpose and meaning of it to let everybody know what that's about.
Awesome. So it actually came out of one of the biggest breakdowns of my life. My partner and I had ended our relationship really abruptly right after the new year began, and it kind of came out of left field. Like, I wasn't expecting it. And there wasn't really anything leading up to the breakup that would have hinted that that was going to happen. And so when we broke up, I went into a tailspin, and that was really unusual for me. Like, usually I can handle breakups and move forward pretty gracefully, and this one was just a mess. Like, I was like emotionally broken from it, and I had done enough personal growth and personal development work and been running my coaching business for 4.5 years that I knew that it was something deep within me that I had to look at, and that I hadn't been ready to look at until then. And so I started doing the inner work and coming to the realization that my part in the relationship breaking down was rooted in a lack of confidence. And so I kept going deeper, and underneath that, well, if I had a lack of confidence, where is that located in my body? And that's located like in my power center. And if I'm not honoring my power center, what's really going on? And what I came to was that I just didn't love myself, and I didn't know how to love myself. And so radical self-love was really born out of that entire experience, where I understood that the root, which is what radical means, is getting to the root. The root of my breakdown was the lack of self-love. And if I could learn how to effectively build that up, then I would be able to be in the relationships that were really honoring who I am and who I want to be, and the direction in which my life is going. So that's really how it came into the world, and now it is really morphed into this beautiful community where I get to support women in learning how to love themselves more and have really amazing relationships in their lives.
Wow, that's really powerful, Kelsey. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know all of that story at all, so that's amazing. And I think as women, we've all been through these experiences, and they're growth experiences. I know for myself, whenever I've been through something like that, it does often lead to a new period of creativity, and I see that very much with all sort of experiences we go through. There's a process to it. There's a process of grieving and pulling back, and there's a process of then moving forward and new things coming to the fore. So, and you mentioned that you work predominantly with women. Is that something you found that has naturally just sort of come about? It's quite organic?
Yeah, when I was running my coaching practice before, the majority of my clients were men, and I was working in boardrooms. Like, I was going into corporations, going into businesses, and coaching high-level men. And when I went through my whole inner journey this past 1.5 years, I noticed that the women that I was attracting were also in the same place, and that there were men that were coming into our community, but the women were the ones who were stepping up to do the actual work, and who were ready to really be bold and claim that, okay, I'm ready to love myself, and I have no idea how to do that, but I'm ready and willing, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. And I want something different. I think that's really where the desire often comes from. I want to feel happy. What's this all about if I'm not happy? So I think that's amazing. And I've noticed myself as a therapist, when you've got things to deal with, you do often attract those clients to help you through that process. It's very much a two-way street. You learn as much, I think, as a coach as you do, when you're being coached. So, which is fantastic. So, and as part of the RSL, you've been doing a 365-day project.
Yeah.
So, and blogging every day. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that project was born when my partner and I actually made our way back to each other. So we took a hiatus, and Radical Self-Love was born. I established, a program for myself, and we've since put that out into the world. And when we came back together, I knew that my journey wasn't complete. Like, I was still at the very beginning stages, and I couldn't keep doing what I had done in the past and expect a different result with him. And I had to keep up my self-love practice. And it was his suggestion, actually, to write a blog. He's like, why don't you write a blog for a year? And I thought about that, and I was really confronted by it. Like, That's a huge commitment, like writing a blog post every day for an entire year on self-love. Like, how am I going to do that? But the more I tuned into it and meditated on it, it became clear that it was the exact thing that I needed to do, because it would document an entire year of self-love healing and of the journey that one goes through, or one can go through, when learning to love themselves, and being really transparent about, the days that were really high and the days that were not so high, and just claiming it all and being really brave in a lot of that sharing. And so we are 6 days until that is complete, and I will have written a blog post on self-love every day for a year. And it's one of my greatest achievements, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but I've never done something to this degree that was for me and only for me, which has now supported my community in ways that I could never have imagined.
And just that showing up every day, I think that's an amazing thing. I mean, I know that we show up for work every day and we do various different things, but, as you say, showing up and sharing the highs and the lows, just being very real. And I've read your blog and I love it. And I think that was what really helped me kind of connect with you. We came together through my application for Awesomeness Fest, which is something else you get involved with Mind Valley. But it was really from, looking up what it is you were doing and reading your blogs that I really resonated with you. And I just thought, wow, this is, such amazing things that are coming out here. And I think just the honesty, it was the honesty and the authenticity that I really loved. And I think, for somebody who's taken a while to find their voice and to speak up and to have the confidence to share, I've always been quite open with my friends, but to share publicly, I think that's a very bold and brave thing to do. But it's the way that we seem to be going in the world, which I think is a far healthier way, bringing more of ourselves to the table and becoming much more authentic, much more comfortable with who we are as the whole person, not just bringing your show self to the table or your shiny self. It's about bringing, as we say in England, warts and all, coming to the table. So I really admire you for that, and congratulations on that achievement. And what do you think personally has been the biggest thing that you've got from that? What do you think you've gained from it, from that process?
I mean, one of the biggest things that I've gained from it is the knowingness that I'm fully capable of showing up for life and being creative and having that creativity received so well in the world. And I had really allowed my passion for writing to lie dormant before this, and having to show up and write every day has certainly strengthened my ability as a writer. But it's also really anchored in the confidence that I have in myself, that what I have to share is of great value, and the things that I'm doing in my life, they're simple. They're simple shifts that I'm doing that are causing profound results. And then I see those results ripple into my community. And anyone who reads the blog and then takes action, is going to see a very similar experience unfold. And I really have loved watching that whole dynamic of being of service and seeing other people thrive just by virtue of me being real and authentic. And at times it hasn't been easy to show up and share so vulnerably, but I understood that if the world is actually going to move in the direction of healing itself, that means we have to heal ourselves individually and come into our own alignment with what works best for us. And if no one leads the way, we are never going to get there. And so I understood that I had to show up in that capacity if I really wanted to fulfill a mission of seeing a world full of love.
Absolutely. And I think that is the thing, is we all have to show up in our own individual way, and then collectively that can really make a big difference. And I love what you say there about, you realize that you had something of value to share, because that's something that's really passionate and close to my heart. And that's really what this event is actually all about, is for pregnant women feeling that they really are of value and recognizing their value, not just during their pregnancies but as mothers. And I really want to look at the pregnancy mind and how the thoughts and feelings that we have during that particular time really do change. And so the value that we feel about ourselves and then what we project out into the world, which is my understanding of the kind of whole premise of self-love, is really, really important. And that's why I was so keen to have you in on this conversation. So,
thank you.
So in terms of, a typical client's issues, you said you've been attracting quite a lot of female clients, and I know that you've had some clients that have been going through the pregnancy journey, that have become mums, and you've got good friends who have gone through that journey. What are you noticing are the changes in how they feel about themselves and how they're able to sort of work with the self-love principles?
Well, it definitely is a really big change. Like we go from being masters of our own domain to all of a sudden being responsible for ourselves and this little human. And what I've noticed the most is just the challenge of managing and holding that responsibility and still keeping their levels of self-care up. And I think that's the first thing that goes out the window when, at least with my clients and my friends that I have seen and supported throughout the years. And it's this matter of I don't have the time to care and, put in my own
time to care for me.
Yeah. And so that's why I started RSL, is to support women before they get to that stage of, oh, I have this human, and how am I supposed to learn to love myself and love this little baby and take care of it? And so I think when we start with small incremental shifts that are really manageable for anyone depending where they are in their life, that's where we start to see really big results. And with pregnant moms, like, it's really a matter of time and integrating a self-love practice into the flow of your day. Yeah, because the day is never going to go the way that we plan. And especially when we have little ones running around, like, it's even more fluid, and you're more in a state of flow, and you just have to be able to go with it. And a practice of self-love really is just the mental construct that whatever happens is the perfect thing to happen. And when new moms really embrace that whole concept, it's just like this wave of ease just flushes through their body, and they're like, okay, if today is chaotic, that's okay. And if tomorrow I have time to like sit and rock my baby, and that's kind of a meditation, great. And it's really about adapting these concepts of self-love and the practices of self-care and self-love and adjusting them to the new context of your life as a pregnant woman or as a woman who's just given birth and a new mom. Like, we have to learn how to be flexible with those processes and those practices so that we honor ourselves and that we also honor the other lives and relationships around us.
Great. So taking that back a couple of steps, you've said, what you aim to do is work with women so it becomes almost like as routine as brushing your teeth or, brushing your hair every day, these simple practices, so that when you move on in your life and it gets even busier, then, they're kind of ingrained in you, they're kind of inbuilt in you to carry on doing. And I think that makes perfect sense. I think, from what I've seen with all the women that I've supported, making big shifts is there's enough of a big shift going on when you're having a baby. You don't need to introduce lots of new routines and lots of new gizmos and things that are making it complicated. So it's about keeping it simple and learning it pre-baby. But tell me, I know we were chatting before about sort of the way that you start your day and the very simple steps that you integrate, and I love those actually, and I'm starting to integrate them into my life. And I'm all about the simple. If it gets too complicated for me, I love I make a plan, I say, right, I'm going to do this, I write out my whole to-do list, and then I get kind of halfway through and I just think, oh, it's too restrictive.
Yeah.
You know, I like to be a little free bunny, and I like to kind of do my own thing. So
Hmm.
as soon as it gets too complicated and too hard, I'm off. So if you can just explain some of the things that you ran through with me, just that kind of simple start to your day, because I think that's a wonderful way, or a wonderful thing for people to take away, to incorporate.
So the very first thing that I do is I drink water.
Hmm.
Because when we wake up, our bodies are already dehydrated, and if we try to start our day running on empty, we don't get very far. And when I hydrate, it wakes up my brain and it wakes up my body. So I'm just more alert as I go through my day. Plus, it gets all of my digestion and everything working in tandem with each other. And then I do a gratitude journal. So I have it literally beside my bed. And when I wake
Yeah.
up, I grab my water, have some water, and then I grab my gratitude journal. I don't even get out of bed. And I write a page of gratitude. And there are days when, I'm busy and I have to be up early, and so I'll integrate my gratitude practice if I'm in the shower. And while I'm shampooing my hair, I will think of the things that I'm grateful for. And then I still achieve my gratitude practice just in a different way.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I have my journal and I write in it. I take one page, and it maybe 5-10 minutes, depending on how extensive I want to get. And then I sit in meditation for anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes. On the days that I don't have a lot of time, like I have my basic mantra that I go through that literally takes me 5 minutes to do. And it's just a way for me to ground my energy, clear my energy, and set a positive intention for the day. And if that's one thing that we take away from this, is our ability to direct how our day is going to go. And we get to say in the morning, like when we wake up, how we're going to feel. If I wake up and I'm like, oh, this is such a crappy day because, there's clouds outside, then I'm going to start collecting that evidence.
Yeah.
And my day is going to go in a really negative direction. However, if I wake up and I look for the positive aspects, which is why the gratitude practice is so important, my day will flow in a very different way. And even if I'm met with challenges, which we all are, and my day is full of them, like nothing ever goes perfectly, but it is perfect in its imperfections. And when I've set the tone and I've claimed that today is going to be a good day, and that I'm going to lovingly embrace everything that comes into my life and flow with it, my days go amazing. And I'm less attached to it being a certain way. And I think with moms, that is really important, because your day is never going to go the way that you plan, unless like you're off, on a retreat in the woods, just yourself and some other women. But when there's little humans around, like, we just never know what's going to come. And if we just set the intention that today is going to be a good day, and I'm going to honor myself and what I need, and also honor the people around me and operate from a place of love and respect and kindness, then the day unfolds in this really beautiful capacity.
And I totally agree with that. And it's so simple. It sounds so simple, but actually it's something I start incorporating into my day. And, I do love writing down, but actually I tend to do my sort of gratitude and my thoughts in the shower as well. That tends to be my sort of little ritual. I get up, I put the kettle on, I make a cup of tea. And before I get out of bed even, actually, I do now, well, not force myself, it kind of starts to come naturally now, but I do allow myself just some time, often even a minute or two just before I grab my phone or I go to, start thinking about what I've got to do for the day. I just allow myself to think through some things that I'm grateful for and just set that intention. This is going to be another great day. And I'm excited about today. And I find even just that positive language makes a real difference. And it's not to say I don't acknowledge, okay, today I'm excited, I'm anxious about today, I'm a bit fearful, I might have some feelings coming up, but I don't dwell on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of move on to the, the excitement and the gratitude. And I find that definitely does make a huge difference. And I think for my clients, certainly going with the flow can often be one of the hardest things to get into, because when you come from a corporate structure, and most of my clients are, senior women in business, they work in either finance, law, they generally work in the City of London.
Yeah.
And they're used to having a structure, they're used to having a timetable that they stick to. They show up for meetings, they're used to being, fairly confident and competent at what they do, they're at the top of their game. And when they're thrown out of that environment, and they're in an environment where it's a learning curve every single day, they're getting to know their baby. It doesn't matter how many books you've read, or, even if you've got a maternity nurse, or, you've got lots of support, you and your baby are still getting to know each other. Or if your baby hasn't arrived and you're still pregnant, the changes that are going on in your body, they're all very different. And again, you kind of read up about this whole process, but how it feels to you, how you experience it, is going to be unique to you. So I think for me, that's a fantastic thing to take away, is the going with the flow. And just, when you're grounded in yourself, I think that's the thing, is when you feel more confident and more strong in yourself, you have a stronger belief in yourself, a stronger love for yourself, then you're not so thrown by things. Your roots are strong. And it really helps us to kind of move forward. So what would be the one key thing or the one piece of advice that you would give to mums or women generally to really help them value themselves, to really keep as maybe like a little mantra or something, to really help them connect in, to remember if they're having those kind of tricky moments or tricky days?
Well, I mean, the one mantra that I use every single day, because I'm someone who, like, when I'm grounded, I'm totally okay with things going with the flow and just, being present to all of that movement. But when I get out of my alignment, I find that energy chaotic and overwhelming. So anytime I'm experiencing that, I remember and I tell myself, okay, Kelsey, everything that happens is the perfect thing to happen. And I sometimes have to repeat that many, many, many times to get to that place of, okay, I can relax, and everything is actually okay. Like, even if I'm facing a challenge, it's still okay. Like, I have everything that I need to move through this challenge or to approach this with grace. And one of my favorite teachings is, if we want better results in life, we have to ask better questions. And when we're in those states of chaos, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, like, ask a better question. What can I do to move through this with grace? What can I do to learn from this experience? What am I supposed to learn from this experience? Those are all amazing questions that put you on that higher vibration train. And another thing that is really, really important for new moms and for women in general is to learn to ask for what you need. There seems to be a really big resistance in all of the women that I meet, all of the women that I work with, to knowing what they need and then asking for it. And the more we dialogue, it's very clear that they know what they need. And it's more so they're afraid to ask for it. And when... Sorry?
So I was going to say, where do you think that fear comes from? Where do you think?
I mean, I feel that it's, rooted, somewhere in our early experiences where we probably did ask for something and we were denied. And inside of that denial, we felt rejected. And the way that our minds work is, if we get rejected, okay, just don't do that again, because we don't want to have that experience. And so we avoid the trigger that, activated that experience, which is not the case. But in our young brains as children, that those associations get made, and then they begin to run our behavior and our thoughts as we grow older. And so it's really a matter of understanding that even when we have that experience of anxiety, of asking for what we want, it's not the truth. It's not the truth that we're going to be rejected. If someone says no, they can't help us, all it means is no, they can't help us. It's not that we aren't worthy of their help, or that we're not worthy of having our requests fulfilled. It's just they aren't the perfect person to fulfill that for us, and so we may have to ask someone else.
Yeah.
But I really do see, especially in the Western world, there is a lot of subliminal messages in advertising and in the media of women not stepping into their truth and not stepping into their power. And as we see this movement of self-love and self-awareness and self-growth really blossom, those ideas are being challenged. And we see like kind of an uprising, in these younger generations, really challenging those perceptions that are relayed to us through the media, through television, through movies and radio, and all of these things that we see on a regular basis. And when we see things on a repetitive and consistent basis, it programs into our minds, and then it begins running our behavior. So there are so many pieces to why this could be showing up for people, and especially for women. And it's just a matter of, okay, great, that's there. And we have the power to either be dominated by it and run by it, or we can change the game and take our power back.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Sorry, go on.
And I was just going to say, like, how we take our power back is we get control over what's going on up here.
Yeah.
Our thoughts about the world around us. That is how we take our power back. And when we start to perceive things through a lens of love and compassion and understanding and connection, which is really what the feminine is all about, we start to see a transition and a transformation globally. And the only way that we'll ever see those big institutions of advertising or media shift is when it becomes obsolete, because we are not in alignment with the messages that are being portrayed, and then there's new opportunities to present our new perspectives and our true perspectives, which are always rooted in love.
I agree. I think that's lovely. And I think that, putting our hands up, having the confidence to say, actually I've got something to say and something to share, and asking for help, I think is a really big thing. And certainly that's why I really resonated when I read Brené Brown's book. Even the title, actually, I don't think I probably said it earlier, it's Daring Greatly, How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. And for me, that's just such a strong thing just to connect in with, because being vulnerable, having the courage to move forward is so important. But as you say, it's the asking. I think there's a real thing of just trying to be perfect, trying to do it all, trying to be kind of superwoman, or perfectly perfect. And one of my talks later this week, actually with Joanna Martin, is looking at the superwoman myth, which is an interesting one. But I think just trying to sort of dispel that. And I say to my clients often when I go to see them, they are much more honest with me. They're not looking to me to be, judging them or to give any criticism. And so they really share how they're feeling. And I think that's what's so important, is being able to find, that voice and be able to do that. And then, as you say, give that love to yourself, not be, your harshest critic, but actually be your absolute best friend, and be your biggest lover in a way, your biggest fan. And I think that's what I do see with some of the younger generations. There's so much more confidence around, and so much more desire to speak up, and I think it's an excellent thing to encourage in many ways. To find our voice and to get it out there. So, yeah.
And it's so simple as like being clear in the morning. Okay, what do I need right now to feel good?
Mm.
And just asking ourselves that one question throughout the day. What do I need right now to feel good? And as soon as you ask the question, the answer will be right there. It's just most people don't even ask the question to themselves, so then the answer eludes them.
Yeah.
And when we ask those types of questions and we get our answers, we're very clear, okay, maybe there's some things in here that my partner could support me with. And now that I'm clear of what I need, I can go request that from them. Or maybe my family could support me, or maybe some of my girlfriends could support me. But until I know what I need, no one else can really help me fulfill on
Mm.
having that, intention come to fruition. So I need to be clear first and foremost what it is that I need. And it could be so simple as, oh, what I need right now is a nap. What I
Mm.
need right now is a glass of water. What I need right now is a hug. And it's usually very simple things like that
Yeah.
that we actually need. And when we receive them, then our energy is back in alignment. And when we're
Yeah.
back in alignment, we can really be with the flow that is required when we have, little humans running around.
Exactly. But having the clarity, I think, and the mindfulness to do that, I think that takes some work sometimes. As you
Mhm.
say, it's the simplest little phrase. But actually, when you're sort of busy and you're running around, sometimes just connecting in with yourself,
Yeah.
isn't something that everybody does naturally, and it can feel a bit sort of introspective and a bit sort of indulgent, I think. Certainly for some people I speak to. And it's about getting past that and actually saying, you know what, actually your needs are really important, and being able to check in with them and just answer them very simply. And then, as you say, put it forward very, very calmly, very clearly
Mhm.
to whoever may be there to help you is important. And I think that's what can get lost sometimes, is we're not getting the first part right, where we're actually just being clear to ask for what we want. And
Mhm.
then, there's a lot of emotion that gets caught up in then the delivery of asking,
Yeah.
so we've got, our emotions of being fearful or being needy or just being dismissive or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing of just cutting through all that and just being absolutely, very plain and simple about it and saying, this is
Yeah.
actually what I need. um, you know, how do we get this sorted? And it's looking at it from a solution focused point of view, as opposed to creating a big drama about it or whatever.
Absolutely. And I know you and I spoke about this before, and we need to calm ourselves down. Like when we're in
Mm.
those peaks of emotion, we really can't think clearly. And especially with the pregnancy mind,
Exactly.
um, like there's a lot going on there. And
Yeah.
if we don't know how to calm ourselves down, we actually, like you said, we won't be able to even ask that question, or maybe we could ask the question, but the answer is so convoluted that we can't make sense of it.
Mm.
And so the pre-step to asking that question would be to be in a state of calmness. And the one way that we can do that, and we can do it anywhere with anyone, is deep breathing. And it's actually a neurological technique to calm down the brain. So when the brain triggers that there's not actually a threat to your life, which is what happens when we're feeling all those
Mm-hmm.
emotions and anxiety, like the brain's like, okay, is there a threat to our lives here? Do we need to go into protection mode? And we have to somehow tell our brains that no, everything's good here. I'm having an emotional experience and it's okay. My life is not threatened. And when we do deep breathing and repetitive cycles of deep breathing, it really helps to calm down the brain, which helps to calm down the body and open ourselves up to that clarity. And this technique is super simple. Like we just inhale for 7 counts, hold for 7 counts, release for 7 counts, and do that 7 times. Even if you did it 3 times, it's going to calm down your body to the point where you'll be able to at least be able to understand what you're thinking and what you're feeling, which is, always, a step in a beautiful direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think that breathing is something that I've not heard of the 777 until you shared it with me recently. But I always say to my clients, just literally, focus on the breath in, focus on the breath out, because often, a whole run of different things can be coming out in our consultations. And, when we actually slow it down and we start to breathe and we just focus on the breath going in, the breath coming out, it's such a simple thing. It's such a basic thing. But again, it just cuts through all of that kind of, I don't want to call it nonsense, because, I don't want to disregard it, but it is, in a way, it's no sense. It's not making sense to us. It's not, as you say, clear and helpful, and it's not moving us forward. So I love that breathing. I think that's a really nice one. And so I think that's the thing, is just for me, it's about having really simple steps. It's about recognizing that your life is busy enough as it is, that you've got various different things that you're juggling, you've got lots of things that are important to you. And when you add a child into the mix, that's even more so going to be adding. But what you can do, the more that you look after yourself and the more that you love yourself, you're showing that as an example to your child to move on and to behave. And I think that's the thing, it's about leading by example. And so that's why I was really, really passionate about having you as the first speaker, actually. I thought it was a really great way to start this, because if we get the basics right, if we get the ground level, the foundations right, then we can move on and up and really sort of develop from there. So I think having that power just to really connect in. Ooh, massive wind gust there. Sorry, it sounded like something. Ooh, that's the power. That's the power coming in here. I don't know what that was.
It's been confirmed from the universe.
Yeah, it has. I've got this beautiful little tree that's going outside, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to come through my window. But I think just having that stable foundation for me, and then building on it step by step, nice and slowly, is about is about what it's about. Going around in circles.
Yeah, and I mean, we just have to honor where we're at and what we need. And I think, and I know you'll talk about this in the Superwoman complex conversation, but there's this idea that we have to take on like so many things and be all things to everyone. And as women, like, we have to scale that back. And we first have to be all things to ourselves. And if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of anyone else. And even though I don't have children yet, my whole premise for my life, I'm a Cancer, so I am all about the home, I am all about the family, and I'm all about taking care of people. That is what makes me so happy. And I've designed a tribe of people out here in Vancouver that are my friends and my family, and it really is a family unit. And I love playing the role of mother. They all call me the mother hen of our group of friends. And I've had a lot of practice in navigating and creating that harmony in our family unit here. And the only way I could actually do that is when my needs were being met first. Because the second I was spinning out of control, or I was, feeling chaotic internally, or really emotional and unclear of what I was thinking or feeling, I can't actually support my family. And so it becomes a very basic foundation, and it just makes sense in my brain that if I want my family to thrive, because I really do, and I love these people, and I love what they're up to, and the same is true for a mom and her family. If you want to see your children thrive, and in order for that to happen, we have to give them a really beautiful foundation to, spring from. And that starts with our self-love. We train our kids how to go through the world, and we train our family how to show up in the world by the way in which we show up with them. And if we show up with them from a place of being complete and full, and sometimes asking for what we need when we need it, and really honoring and taking care of what we need internally, that ripples out into this global consciousness and creates such a beautiful transformation. And we'll see new generations of kids growing up with higher levels of self-esteem if they come from families where their parents honored what they needed and learned how to ask each other.
Yeah.
something really beautiful that happens when a child witnesses parents being a team.
Mm. And also being mindful, you know, I think having
Yeah,
that mindfulness, I'm really, you know, it's something I've become much more aware of, you know, the last few months is my thoughts. You know, my thoughts shape my actions. And when you're more mindful about your thoughts, you're more measured about your thoughts, you know, it can make such a difference,
absolutely.
you know, to how you're showing up. And do you think you feel more confident now to go forward, you know, to hopefully become a mother with this grounding, with these steps that you have? You know, I mean, it's a scary process.
Absolutely.
You know, I work with, you know, the first question I ask my clients is, are you ready? Do you feel ready? And generally the answer is no. And this can be when they're just about to give birth. So, you know, these are brilliant tools for me to be able to pass on to my clients, whatever stage they're at. And for me
Yeah.
personally as well, you know, I'm on my journey to becoming a mother, not yet, but you know, in the future, I'm very excited about that. And you know, so putting these in place, I think, is amazing.
And it's so exciting. It makes the whole process and the journey of motherhood, you know, at least a very exciting option for me.
Mm.
And you know, up until 5 years ago, it really wasn't on my radar, and I wasn't even sure if I wanted to have kids. And then I move and I change my life. I started coaching practice. I dive into this world of, you know, self-development and really being aware of what's going on up here, and you know, going through this whole self-love journey. And now to me it's very exciting, the idea of having a child and bringing them into an environment like this where my partner and I meditate together. And you know, I keep seeing visions, and it's really weird. Like lately I've been having this vision of holding a baby and meditating with this child and really supporting, you know, this new little human and understanding, you know, the basics of mindfulness from a very young age.
Mm.
But in order for me to do that, I have to be really anchored in my practice and really anchored in, you know, my asking of self-love and really honoring what I need. And every day that changes. Like as a woman, we are in constant states of change. Like that is what the feminine rules. The feminine rules change. And so I have to really learn how to embrace that change. And every day I wake up and I feel different. And if this blogging project has taught me anything, it's like even though there are some days that I don't feel like showing up for the world, I still do, because I'm showing up for something greater than myself.
Mm.
And the same is true for a mom. You know, when you show up and love yourself, you're showing up for something greater than you. And what you're showing up for is the impact on future generations. You know, and not to put pressure on yourself, but to really inspire what you're doing, and approach, you know, your self-love practice from a place of inspiration. Like, oh yeah, if I do take care of myself, I'm training my child unconsciously to do the same, which means they're going to go out into the world and be very different. You know, they're probably going to follow their passions. They're going to question, you know, what they're being told, and that's a really beautiful thing. And that's all rooted in our ability to love ourselves and stand in that love as we go through the journey of motherhood.
I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah,
So, Kelsey, if people want to find you, if people want to work with you or find out more about radical self-love, how can they do that?
So they can just hop on over to our website. So that's www.kelseygrant.com. And we have a bunch of radical self-love links on the website. And then we also have a Facebook community that's all about self-love. And I post the blog onto our Facebook page. So that's just facebook.com/radical self-love. And those are the two best ways to get in touch and to really step into that journey of self-love.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure to have a conversation with you today and to start the conversation of Bumps in the Boardroom. So thank you so much for your time and for joining me, and for all of the conversations that we've had before this one. It's been wonderful to connect with you again. And all I want to say is thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
My pleasure. And I hope the sun shines for you later today. I hope it warms up
I
there.
hope so too.
Yeah. Have a really lovely day.
Thanks, you too. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.